GM everyone, and welcome to Smart Contact, an interview series with the world's most influential and impactful Web3 leaders. This podcast is produced by Web3 Harbour and is supported by Circle. Like and subscribe for more Smart Contacts.
Welcome to another episode of Smart Contact, produced by Web3 Harbour. I am Minh, COO at Animoca Brands, and I'm your host today. We are recording with a live audience, and today's Smart Contact is Jack Liu, CEO and co-founder at Magic Eden, the leading platform to launch, discover, and trade tokens and NFTs across all chains. As one of the leading cross-chain dApps, Magic Eden's mission is to become the destination to trade every asset in crypto across all chains, all assets, and all communities. Thank you for joining us and listening to our conversation today. Jack, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the opportunity.
Let's really, Magic Eden, if you're a crypto follower, is a household name by now. But let's really start at the beginning. So how did you come to co-founding what was, at the time, the first product was a Solana NFT marketplace? Tell us about the origin story of Magic Eden.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of unreal, like some kind of full circle vibes being here in Hong Kong talking about it, because so Magic Eden, we're 3 years old. I actually came up with the initial idea in Hong Kong, and my co-founders were based in the US at the time. Then eventually, we couldn't like start this like crazy stuff being in two different places, so we all eventually moved to the US, and now later on, we're now out of the US. But basically, I think the story was this. So I've kind of been in crypto, like lurking for a long time. 2017, 2018, buying a lot of coins, buying a lot of alts. And really, I was like pretty deep down the rabbit hole. And for a long time, I was really thinking, at multiple stages of my career, like how do I jump into crypto full time? So at that time, I was in SF in the Bay Area. I was a big tech product manager. But I was really like at nighttime, kind of like so-called DJing, right? Buying coins and so on. And at that point, like one big thing kept holding me back, right? And the thing that was really holding me back was, I think if you look at the long arc of crypto, for most of crypto's history, it was a lot of it was either about trading or it was either about deep tech. So it was like people who built exchanges, who built like trading shops. They really made like an outsized impact on the industry, right? And the other side was, people with like computer science PhDs building like consensus algorithms, like how to make TPS faster. They had an outsized impact on the industry. And I was a crypto lover, but I didn't really know what my edge was or how I could make an impact. So I was mostly just dabbling in coins, being an investor. Then fast forward a few years, 2021, that's basically when like ETH NFTs really popped off. And this was like Bored Ape Yacht Club on, Jimmy Fallon, Beeple selling his NFTs for like $69 million, front page of New York Times. And all of a sudden, and at that time I was in Hong Kong actually, and I was seeing a lot of growth in like the Solana ecosystem, right? And there was a little bit of a base here. And all of a sudden, like two things clicked for me. The first thing that clicked was, okay, first of all, people were talking about NFTs, and I realized, actually, this is no longer about deep tech, infra, consensus algorithms. If you talk to the everyday person, their eyes would just glaze over. And it's also not really about trading, right? This is actually about art, culture, games, shit talking on the internet, parties, millennial culture in some ways. And I thought, hey, this is actually more like the everyday person understands this. This is more about translating crypto into something that emotionally you can feel and connect with. This is more like my wheelhouse. Like, this is consumer. And then the other thing was, Sol at that time was this very frontier new chain, very fast, and it enabled us to build really crisp experiences. So I put two and two together, called some of my co-founders, and we hacked something together, basically. That was 3 years ago. We started with Sol NFTs. Now we're on like 10 chains. We also do like fungibles. We traded about $1.5 billion of fungibles. So yeah, it's done we've changed a lot since then, but that's how the story started.
Yeah, we're gonna go on the full journey of Magic Eden from that early stage to what you are today, which is the platform for all chains, all assets. But talk to us about that initial period of Solana. Were you already in touch with Anatoly and the Solana Foundation at that time? Or did you just look at the tech and you were like, this is an opportunity that you saw that Solana was very clearly differentiated from ETH?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think I would love to say we had this grand origin story where it was master plan kind of stuff, but it really wasn't, right? A lot of these times you catch lightning in a bottle, in some ways we felt like we earned our luck because we work like dogs, but then there was this healthy dose of luck involved. So effectively what happened was actually one of my high school friends turned out to be a really early employee at Sol, and he was my neighbor. And I grew up in Australia, and we used to play basketball together when I was 15. And when I was still in SF, I was working at Google, and I was trying to find jobs in crypto. He'll be one of my career Sherpas. I'll be like, hey, is this project a scam, or is this a real thing? What's going on? And I remember in 2018, he wanted me to join Sol. That would have been probably a good bet, actually, a good career bet. But so he was actually saying, hey, there's a lot of interesting things on Sol. We're getting a lot of velocity. You should take a look. So that's how I really started looking to Sol. And initially, I was also an investor. I was a bag holder, right? So I was paying a lot of attention. But the other thing that so that was more the line in a bottle, the luck part of it, how I started seeing Sol. But then the other side of it was a bit more intellectual, because I came from consumer internet. I worked at Google, and in Google, there is a lot of internet history lore, right? Internet history mythology. And one of the things that Google always bet on was open internet. It bet on this proliferation of content, permissionless proliferation of content. And it used that paradigm to overcome AOL, right? And this is mythology inside Google. And my thought at that time was well, if you look at the history of the internet, things trend towards fast. That is just the history of the world. And even though Ethereum at that time had so much value, it had so much momentum, the intuition was, over a long enough time frame, there is trending, things trend towards cheap, things trend towards fast. And I think in 2025, some of those theses is validated. Of course, we're ultimately Magic Eden, we're ultimately also built on Bitcoin. We're the largest DEX on Bitcoin. Things are very slow, so there is still value to building on things with prestige and provenance, but that was the initial bet on Sol. Yeah.
And we're sitting here in 2025. We've gone through a pretty brutal bear market, but to a certain extent, the launch of Magic Eden was almost like a rocket ship. You almost caught lightning in a bottle in that 2021, 2022 era. How did that feel? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it was pretty crazy. So I think Magic Eden, I'll talk a little bit about 2021, that initial, but also frame. I basically think, we're 3 years old. It feels like we went through 3 stages. First year, it was amazing, right? We were on track to make 100 million in revenue in the first year. It was really crazy. I felt like I was master of the universe. I felt man, I'm so smart. It was totally not the case. And then year 2, brutal bear market. Of course, NFTs effectively died. Sol was at $8. I saw our revenue tank 99%. And then and we overscaled. We scaled too much. We scaled from 4 people to 100 people in the first year. So we had a lot of cultural issues. The foundation of the company was right, and we couldn't ship. So that was year 2. And then last year, I think we had renaissance. We fixed a lot of our internal problems, and I think we earned some success. We got 65% market share in the NFT category. So that's kind of what happened. But yeah, year 1, it was pretty crazy. I think maybe I'll just share one story that encapsulated it, and then those many things happened. But basically, the first version of Magic Eden, we built it in 2 weeks. We were all still working our day jobs, and we built it by buying a WordPress theme for $15 on the front end. And in the back, my co-founders were learning how to write smart contracts for the first time. And we all took 2 weeks off work saying we were sick or whatever, and we were like grinding really hard. We're grinding like 100 hours a week, and then we shipped the first version. But the first version, I said, let's try to hit $100,000 in GMV, but we hit $100,000 in the we try to hit this in 4 weeks, and we hit $100,000 in the first day. And I think that whole lesson then taught us like, yeah, in crypto, this market is crazy. It's crazy fast. But if you can match the speed of this market with your execution, then you can really grab something. And then that's basically the story of the first year. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt the video, but I want to tell you about our smart contract lead sponsor, Circle.
What is Circle?
At Circle, we're building a digital dollar that brings the power of the internet to money.
Circle's the place where crypto meets stability,
where local businesses meet global customers,
and the US dollar meets USDC.
Meet Circle.
Thank you to all of our sponsors and community partners. Now back to the conversation.
So let's dive. We're gonna come to all the stuff that, you know, like again, it's Magic Eden is now a household name. The leader in Solana NFTs, leader in Bitcoin NFTs. You've just launched your wallet. You've got an on-chain exchange. But let's dive a little bit into that first year and then that second year. So you launched the Solana NFT product. Obviously, I'm guessing you had your eye on OpenSea as like the ETH market leader, and you're like, we're gonna be Solana, we're gonna be differentiated, and then it just took off. And then, you know, tell us the journey from that moment through to like kind of the first indication of the bear market where kind of, you know, Luna started collapsing. Talk about that period.
Right. So right. So basically, I think, let's say that first period,
you hit 100,000 GMV in the first day.
Yeah.
You guys are still doing your day jobs.
Yeah.
And then did you just like, okay, guys, we're making this happen?
Yeah.
Everyone quit? Like, what happened there?
So, I think in that first year, we did a lot of things right and we did a lot of things wrong. And if I look back, probably like we did so many things wrong, like 100 things wrong, but there were only a few things that we did really right, and they were really big decisions. And I think that those lessons of like getting the really big things right, even if the decision is really hard, I think we carried with us for a long time, and that really set the culture for the company. So we have this saying in the company called hard choice, easy life, easy choice, hard life. And a lot of that comes from like all of those hard decisions we made. And then all the mistakes we made were always like making easy, convenient decisions to avoid pain. So I'll give you an example. Like one of the best things that we did in the first year was not to sell to OpenSea, actually. And we were 3 months old, 4 months old. We were already doing our like Series A kind of thing. And OpenSea wanted to come to Seoul, and they said, hey, you guys are doing really well. Do you want to buy us? Do you want to join? They were also, OpenSea was doing really, really well at that time.
OpenSea was, as Animoca, we were an investor.
Yeah.
$13 billion fundraise. It was crazy.
Killing it, right? And they were, like pioneers of the category. And they were making so much money that you didn't think it was possible for like a startup to make that much money. And then, and then we had a lot of respect for them because, they pioneered the category. But we were 3 months old, and they said, hey, we want to buy you. And at that time, we could have probably just retired, like generationally retired. But then at the same time, the feeling that we got, so I came from Google, like big tech. And then my co-founders they also came from big tech, but they had startup experience before that too. And basically their startups failed, and then they went to big tech like Uber, like Facebook or Coinbase or something. And at that time we had some momentum, right? And the sense that we got was, man, like we already quit our big company jobs to do this. And we already like emotionally were ready to like go all in. And why would we sell to like a big company and work in a big company job again? So we got this like underdog kind of chip on our shoulder. And basically at that time we made this decision, said, hey, like if you want to come to Seoul and you want to win Solana, let's just compete. Like you build the best product, we build the best product, and let's see what happens. And that time we were like 15 people, maybe we had like 20 million in the bank from Rev and like a little bit of fundraise, and they had like a few hundred million, but we were still ready to take them on. And we cut all of the roadmap to just focus on just one thing, like just this core growth loop that we discovered. We said, don't do any more frivolous things. If you're not doing something that's related to this one thing, stop doing it. And let's just do this one thing. And that growth loop really worked. It really helped us grow and defend. But that was like one of those type 1 irreversible decisions that set the cultural foundations for this company. And we have this cultural value inside the company called Let's Fucking Win. And it has the word fuck in it. But it's the whole point is to say, go 0 or go 100. Like don't go for second place, right? And either go, execute into glory or die a glorious death. Like basically that's the whole feeling. So that was like a good decision. Then the bad decision was, we got the growth loop worked so well, and basically we onboard creators. We're very like creator forward. We onboard creators. We help creators create communities that onboard their community onto Magic Eden. But one thing that happened was that we got scammed. So we onboarded basically a scammer who then like launched some scammy NFT collections, and then the person went on Twitter and basically called us out to say, oh, Magic Eden, your quality control is so poor, haha, you deserve this, and I'm actually Robin Hood, and I'm actually just uncovering all the like ugly truths about how bad your company is, blah blah blah. And we had tons of egg on our face. And that, back to the lesson of hard choice, easy life, easy choice, hard life. The lesson there was, the actual lesson there was, it hurt to say, but man, he was right. Like he was a scammer, and he was like a criminal, and and now he's like getting like convicted and stuff for things he did to us. But at the same time, there was some truth in that. Like our quality control was really crappy, and we didn't vet the identities and the backgrounds of the creators. And we should get egg on our face because we didn't take care of our users. And what really happened was that we were drunk on the euphoria of like having so much business success that we prioritized business over users. And what we really should have done is prioritize users over business, right? And forego the revenue in order to make create more long-term foundations for the company. So all of that, like back to your point, like that's the lesson of the first year, right? And then when it got to like the bear market and things started dropping, we basically kept those same lessons. The same lesson is that, hey, the world is ending, like everything's flipped upside down, FTX collapsed, Sol is at $8. But actually, think long term. Don't do something convenient. Because if you do something convenient, like, oh, let's like ape into the next new shiny meta in crypto, actually that's going to hurt the long-term success of the company. Focus on the long-term, focus on the long-term mission, don't get too shaky, and do the hard thing, right? So yeah, that's basically some core lessons there.
Can we take a little bit of a divergent into the NFT wars of 2023?
Yeah.
When Blur came out.
Yeah.
Blur came out, they were a new approach to NFT trading.
Yep.
What was your team's reaction to Blur? And then subsequently, I mean, I guess this was also around the time when you guys started building ordinals and you became a market leader there.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that period of Magic Eden.
Yeah, it's a really So maybe I'll talk about this in a few layers. One, at this like macro timeless thing that we believe in, and then number two, more like the tactical thing that happened like during that time. So at like a macro thing, which is at Magic Eden, we believe in like we recognize that crypto is extremely volatile and extremely unpredictable. Like 2021 it was all about Bored Apes, and then 2024 it's all about meme coins, and 2025 is all about AI. Like the stories change. We recognize that, and for us, we believe that it's impossible to build something amazing unless you can bet on a strategy that is timeless. You have to bet on timeless truths because it takes years, right, to build. If you want to onboard 100 million users, a billion users, it takes you years, decades to build something amazing. Like look at Google, it takes like 30 years, right, to build an amazing product, 25 years. So the timeless thing, like at the macro level, the timeless thing that we believe is infinite range. What infinite range means is that as long as on Magic Eden, it's like all chains, all assets, as long as we have the widest range of content that is available, we will win regardless over the long term. And we're willing to bet very, very deep into making that happen. And of course, that's the story of Magic Eden now. Like we're on Sol, we're on Bitcoin, we're actually like pretty big now on EVM. We have like around 25% of the users on EVM. And we will continue to expand on chains to get the most range. So that's like the overall context. And this is something that we believed in since like month one. So we always wanted to go to ETH. We always wanted to, if Bitcoin came out, we wanted to do that. So that's like something timeless that happened. Then when Blur came, like Blur was this like, you know, like their team is very strong, right? And they ship fast. They have a very differentiated view. They looked after pro traders. And the two things we did were, one, we reacted, and the other thing, we stuck to our guns. Reacted is that at that time, I actually, to the point of like hard choice, easy life, I said, guys, we should stop working on ETH for a while because it's like a bloodbath, right? Like it's already the bear market. The market is stagnant. There's like Blur and OpenSea are like killing each other. And what's the point for us to do anything? And it was a very, very painful decision because we had this timeless strategy to do multi-chain, but we had to pull back. Like we were like very hot on momentum and we had to pull back. And instead we went to focus on Bitcoin. But the thing that we stuck to our guns, right? The thing that we stuck to our guns is we believed in simplicity and we believed in creators. This is something that's very different to like, you know, what Blur was. I don't want to minimize the things that they did. Every founder, every company, they have to choose their thesis. Blur chooses like pro traders, very oriented towards pro traders, where we orient towards simplicity, onboarding more casual users into the space, and we orient towards creators. And one of the things that I was very glad to do at that time is to stick to that, because at that time, everyone was, you know, it's crypto, right? Everyone was saying, oh, like pro traders is the way. Like this is actually the paradigm. Like trying to onboard retail is like completely, a failed journey. Like everyone should pivot. Let's do this other thing. And I remember being inside the company and said, no, like what we should do is we should try to be like Coinbase, like onboard 100 million users, build a trusted brand, focus on simplicity. And the thing we say is like make crypto easier for everyone. Like it takes years to make something simple. So like focus on that. And I think we've been rewarded because, you know, in the last year, we had 1.5 million users, the most users out of the category. And the other thing is we focus on creators because we really believe that, yeah, ultimately it's creators who use NFT technology or use crypto technology to bring something to life. Magic Eden, we're just more like a commerce layer. We enable this thing to happen, but we still need creators as a key participant to make this technology better than what it is and onboard their users. So I'm glad we stuck to our guns there. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And what about Bitcoin? So you moved into Bitcoin. You became very quickly the market leader in ordinals.
Yeah.
What was the lessons you learned out of that journey in building in ordinals and then subsequently expanding back into EVM?
Yeah. We have this thing that we talk about, which is called like mission versus opportunity. And we try to orient like 70% to mission, 30% to opportunity. And what that really means is like if I was building an app, like let's say I'm building a SaaS product for dentists, it's like a very, very stable market. And I can see like, you know, I can like run some reports and realize like what's the market structure. We can have a 5-year plan. But that's just not crypto, right? Crypto, you have to be open to like new weird stuff that happens. And before ordinals came along, everyone thought Bitcoin is effectively a static chain. It does one thing. It's like a calculator, right? Like it just does this. but ordinals really show that you can actually have more use cases on top of the Bitcoin blockchain. So the opportunity part for us is always trying to think, okay, if something interesting is happening in the ecosystem, let's be open to that. And the thing that we actually saw, and this is all about like kind of being in the trenches and seeing things up close. It was crazy. There was this like really crazy thing that happened. Our head of security and our general counsel were trading these ordinals on Google spreadsheets, and they were trading like $20,000 ordinals back and forth on Google spreadsheets. I was just like, WTF? What? This is like, you're willing to like go through so much pain and eat so much glass just to trade these esoteric things? That means there must be a market, right? There must be demand, and it's just waiting for a good builder to build a good product. That is like what piqued our interest. At the same time,
So hold on.
yeah,
You're head of security and you're head of what?
but my general counsel.
Your general counsel.
So these are
Joe Dahl.
Yeah, Joe, these are not like, of course, we have many people in the company who are very market facing, and it's kind of like their job to know what's in the market, right? Like I have like marketing people, I have like ecosystem people. If they're trading ordinals or doing some weird shit in crypto, like
That's no bad. Yeah.
yeah. And then, but the security guy and the general counsel are very like governance, central functions, and they were doing this, and I thought there must be something real. It smells real, right? And that's how we started exploring.
Wow, incredible. So let's bring this now to where Magic Eden is headed, right? So much things have happened for Magic Eden in 2024.
Yeah.
You launched the wallet, the on-chain exchange, and the Magic Eden ME Foundation has launched the ME token.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about the strategy for 2024 and what you're looking at for 2025.
Yeah. So yeah, happy to. So I think maybe I'll like talk about learnings from 24 and then how we see the world today and what we're trying to do in the future, and then I'll back into like why did we actually launch all of these things in 24. So I think one of the biggest learnings for us is multi-chain. I think Magic Eden is probably one of the only dApps that's like big on Sol, big on Bitcoin, big on EVM. Like we understand. It took us a long time to figure out how to crack that, but now we understand how to crack that. And our learning is like, you know what? Multi-chain, pretty good strategy. That's basically the TLDR. And the reason for that is, one of the most dangerous things in Web3 is this concept of like, there is very little user loyalty and defensibility, because users can take their money and go anywhere, and anyone can print magic internet money out of thin air and incentivize your users to go use their other platform, right? That's just
Which is exactly what Blur was doing to OpenSea.
Exactly. And then it also happened to us, like other small players try to do, in fact, players try to do this to Magic Eden all the time. And then it's like basically really hard to build a long-term business, right? Because you're just getting attacked by small teams to print magic internet money to suck away your users. But really the multi-chain strategy is very defensible. It's very good because now we are extremely diversified. So I have like 20% of revenue and users on this chain, 20% of revenue on this chain, 20% of revenue on this chain, 20% of users on this other chain. And it's very, very hard for people to attack us all at the same time. It's impossible, right? You have to make the same level of technical investment that we did, and it's very, very hard. So we thought that's actually a good thing. The bad thing is that everyone knows 2024 NFTs was pretty stagnant, right? It was not the hottest thing in crypto. So we made money, we were profitable, but we didn't we did okay, but we weren't like killing it. So that's the learning. Multi-chain is good, and then the thing is but the category is not growing. However, the other thing that we also learned though is clearly this like on-chain is the future. Like on-chain is the present and it's the future. And you can see it today, like Trump launching his coin. It's not listed for hours or days on centralized exchanges. The real like but it's like the really like profit generation opportunities for traders is on-chain. And then really the vibrant innovation is happening on-chain. So my very strong thesis is, and then you know there's centralized exchange founders saying, oh, I saw so much like Solana outflow on the day Trump launched. This is all basically the same signals as saying capital is flowing on chain, right? Like capital is flowing from TradFi, like fiat, into crypto. And then within crypto, it's moving from centralized exchanges to on chain. And then tying all the dots together, it makes sense for us because we always bet on this timeless strategy of infinite range. Infinite range means you can trade anything, discover anything on Magic Eden. So if ultimately you can discover and trade more types of assets, whether it's NFTs, ordinals, rare Satoshis, tokens, fungible tokens on Magic Eden, we will acquire more users than anyone else, right? And that is why like we bet into like all chains, all assets. We already did the all chains part for NFTs. We already support all of these chains. We understand how to do that, and now we just have to expand to fungibles. So that's really the thesis. And then us dropping.
Before we go into the fungible, can you talk just a little bit about how do you set up your company to do all chains, even just like Solana, Bitcoin, EVM? I mean, the technical skill sets for those three ecosystems are different.
Yeah.
Right? And you need different teams covering them. How do you set it up?
Yeah. So yeah, it took us a while to figure it out, and like I think we made a lot of mistakes. It took basically 2 years, I think, for us to figure it out. I think that basically the idea is at the end of the day, everything is about talent and everything is about culture. Effectively, if you pursue a multi-chain strategy, it's like building an app with 5 different backends. So it's kind of like I'm building on Windows now, and Windows has like .NET as a language, and I'm building on iOS. So I'm building on Swift, and then I'm building on whatever, like Linux, and I'll have to like support Linux, and I'm building on some like really ancient thing like Cobalt, right? Like so I have to support Cobalt. That's basically what's happening. So therefore, you carry a lot of like technical complexity in the back, and at the same time, then you have to get like specialty talent to go figure those things out. Like the guy who can build on Cobalt is very different to the person who can build on Linux. So then you really have to like understand how to tap into that talent pool, how to train them, and so on. And then the last thing we really learned is that at the end of the day, there is no replacement for interest and passion. Because if you find someone who's really passionate about Bitcoin, they will make it work. They may not know everything, but they will make it work. And it's like the same lesson in other parts of business, right? But it's the same thing in tech and in crypto. But if you find someone that's really into Solidity and like EVM ecosystem, they will make it work. And we have to tap into that. So what we ultimately learned, like to organize the company, is then we have like pods, like chain specific pods. And each of the pods effectively is like a business unit, because it has like the product manager, the technical lead, and then this new this role that we have, which is called business lead. It's like an ecosystem lead, and they are all just like super passionate about this thing. They're like super passionate about Bitcoin, or they're like super passionate about Sol. And then we then internally spotlight, encourage, and systematize this kind of behavior. We say, okay, that is what you call user obsession. User obsession means that you are trading ordinals on spreadsheets. That's how passionate you are. And then for the new people, we tell them this is what the kind of behavior that we want. Like, go learn that. Like, this is your role model, and that's how we build the system to make this thing work at scale. Yeah.
Amazing. Let's go back to fungibles and a wallet. So you've given us the background about all chains, multi-chain, multi-asset.
Yeah.
So you launched the Magic Eden wallet and on-chain kind of DEX sex experience, but it's really kind of on-chain.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
Well, I think really, the launching the wallet, and then launching, we adopted the token that ME Foundation launched. Those things are all linked together. Basically, the linkage is that one, for most decentralized apps, you cannot grow because a decentralized app sits behind the wallet and they sit behind the centralized exchanges. So I'll give you an example. In 2022, I partnered with Shaquille O'Neal, Coachella, Tomorrowland, did all these like huge campaigns. Did all these huge campaigns. And yeah, like it was awesome. But I got no users because I was helping like Phantom or MetaMask acquire users, right? And I was helping like Coinbase acquire users. By the time any user came to Magic Eden, it was like 0.001%. So we couldn't grow. And that's why most dApps, it's like praying for rain. You pray for a bull market, right? So users will flow to you. That's why we built our own wallet, so that we can bypass the other wallets and we can bypass the centralized exchanges and acquire our own users. Like we have our own stepping stone. Then adopting the token is the same. It's like this space is like so competitive. We need like a massive cannon to go change the market structure, right? You need like a few $1 billion of like war chests to go change the market structure, because otherwise there's no way that anyone will come to use us. And back to how we even started this whole conversation is like, yeah, like execute into glory, right? Like try our best. If we don't try our best, we probably have zero chance. But at least if we go all in and try our best, then at least we have a chance to change the market structure and really like onboard more people into our ecosystem the way that we want to.
Before we go into what is, we've talked previously about kind of the likely on-chain wars that are coming. Talk to us about the process of working with the foundation to launch the ME token. What was the thinking in the lead up to the launch, and what were some of the real hard lessons and pain points that you learned through that process?
I think that,
or do you feel like, actually, because you did the work before, and by the time ME Foundation was a thing, Magic Eden was already quite big, and so actually maybe for you the process was easier than for others.
So ME Foundation administered the token. Magic Eden just adopted the token, right? But we had like some close observations about the whole thing. I think that one, it's not possible to have like a perfect launch. It's okay. So I think like just like, even if something screws up, like don't be. I was just telling myself and like, sharing with other people, is like just take it easy. Don't be too hard on yourself. It's not possible to have a perfect launch because this is like playing 10D chess, right? So it's okay. I think that the things that's worth doing really well is that focus on some. So I think a lot of projects, they think the token launch is the last thing, or they don't have any plans beyond the token launch. And after the token launch, all the metrics drop. People like think about retirement plans or whatever, and like that's it. And I actually think that's actually one, that's just wrong, right? But two, I think that kind of trend is actually the reason why crypto is not bigger than what it could be. It does not live up to its potential.
Of crypto.
Yeah, it's the disease. I think that's a perfect way to put it. It's the disease of crypto, because I would like to say it's too easy to make quick money. It's too easy to like print this token and then you take money off the table but your product is really shitty. And then we look around and it's like, whoa, why don't we have 100 million users in crypto yet? Or why don't we have 1 billion users? Yeah, because the products are like built by high school students. It's like, it doesn't feel like any of the trusted products that we use in our everyday life. Like that, the types of craftsmanship that you need to do to build a great product, you have to have a very long-term mentality, right? And I think most projects in crypto is more like, yeah, the token is the last thing, right? That's exit plan. So I think what we did is more like this thing, adopting the ME token is the catalyst for our next chapter. Because Magic Eden, most people know Magic Eden as an NFT platform, but we use this to catalyze our wallet, catalyze our on-chain exchange. We're on track to do $1.5 billion in fungible token trading. Like this is the next thing for us, right? And the story for us is just beginning. I think that's the good thing. I think there's a few things that that was not done well, which is, yeah, our wallet didn't scale. So on the token claim day, we got tons and tons of, which is like a luxurious problem to have. Like we had a lot of downloads, a lot of usage, but then the wallet kind of like hung for like an hour. And when it hung, I think that was actually a major, quite a significant disappointment, because a wallet should be a very trusted financial application, and when it doesn't work, the users feel very anxious, right? And rightfully so. And I felt like we didn't live up to what we wanted to do for the users. So that's probably the reflection on that. Yeah.
I'm sure the wallet is in much better shape by now. It's working very smoothly. So let's talk about the future of Magic Eden. So we're heading, as you said, we're heading towards this era of on-chain. Capital is shifting on-chain. Even BlackRock has an on-chain tokenized fund.
Yep.
Seems like this trend is inevitable.
Yep.
How do you think this is going to change the market structure of crypto?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I think on-chain is the new online, right? And
It's a great line. On-chain is new online.
yeah, it's gonna sound biased, but I really authentically believe this. I think that on-chain is gonna be dominated by pure on-chain players like us, and I just really think the DNA is very different. The type of problems, like even this like problem that we deal with, okay, of going multi-chain, the type of talent you need to have, the type of technical complexity you have to take on is very different to like a centralized exchange, right? And what I posit is with the market structure is that everyone will see this on-chain situation where, I'll give you an example, like Coinbase, you can trade 500 tokens or like something like 500 or 1,000 tokens. But on Solana, 50,000 tokens get launched every day. And Coinbase will never be able to list that many tokens because they're constrained by licensing, regulatory compliance, which rightfully so. That's how they built their brand, but they should do that. But on-chain, the regulatory framework is very different. It's all like peer-to-peer. It's actually protected under the US. It's protected under like freedom of speech laws and so on. So the DNA to understand this and make risk assessment of how to build products on-chain is very different. And to me, my hypothesis is that the centralized exchanges who are effectively the kings of crypto today, they will face innovators' dilemma. Just like it happens with every trend in technology, right? Like you are so profitable, you have such a huge business, and you build such a big set of machinery and muscles around custodianship, licensing, all of this kind of stuff. And then you're effectively going to get disrupted by something that looks very stupid and speculative like a toy. But I actually think that's actually what's going to happen. And I think that, to me, obviously for my business is good, but I actually welcome that, because that to me is actually what crypto really is about. Because if you stand around, like we all got into crypto because there's the story of like, this is the new internet, right? New open internet, new financial architecture. But after 15 years since Bitcoin was invented, or like 17 years, the market structure of crypto looks basically like TradFi. Like there's so many, basically we're replicating the same stack, right? Gatekeepers, people with a huge market power. It's not permissionless. It's none of the things that what this technology was said to do. So I'm more welcoming the future of on-chain. And what we're going to do is like, we are going to go create that future. Yeah.
We've talked a lot about Magic Eden, and thank you so much for sharing. Let's talk a bit about the industry, and this is a really good segue. So, meme coins versus kind of like utility coins. What do you think? Obviously we've had 20. We're kind of entering or kind of in an AI era now, an AI phase. Obviously, the new president just launched his own meme coin though, so that's kind of brought liquidity back into that meme coin space. What do you think of this meme coin meta? And how do you think it's going to evolve over time?
Yeah, so I have a few thoughts on that. I think, okay, so the first thing is that Magic Eden, we basically try to have a camp have an IM2 camp in both camps. Mimetic, speculative assets, and then also like assets with utility. And the short answer really there is that, our mission is to make digital ownership universal. So we want like hundreds of millions of users, billions of users, on-chain using the Magic Eden platform. And really for the average person, the average person does not really resonate that deeply with like highly speculative assets. They want to have the story, the narrative around utility and like the use case for them to, for this thing to make tangible sense, right? So we lean more towards utility, bring more casual users into the space. But at the same time, I'll just put it simply as like, we're not going to cut our nose off to spite our face, which is basically speculation has been core to crypto as a use case. That's since day one, since Bitcoin. And we're very realistic about that. And even a part of our business is basically serving this use case, and it's very fun for like the users who are involved in that, and we try not to trivialize that use case, right? So we have an eye in both camps, but eventually like our eye is more towards, hey, bring for the long-term future where we need real tangible use cases that can onboard more casual users. That's like one aspect of it. I think the other aspect of it is that most things in crypto tend to initially look like a toy, most things. And I try to keep a very open mind. So I think like this whole meme coin thing where it basically seems like, like gambling, but actually I think potentially it could have become the base, right, for something else. So I'd give an example of like when meme coins became huge, like there was all these tokens flooding the market. Everyone thought, okay, this is really stupid. It's like hollowing out like the crypto kind of builder ethos. But then there was this like AI wave, right? And then the AI wave is really built on the foundation of like meme coins and attention. And then now people talk to Magic Eden. It's like, okay, now there's all these AI agents launching meme coins. Can we buy these AI agents? And then they want to use NFTs as like the title of ownership for the AI agents, right? So like the AI agent market is really about trading NFTs. So this is all like things that look like a toy, but eventually dots can connect to make something real. So I try to keep like an open mind about
it's really interesting. So the ownership of the AI agent becomes an NFT. They might have a meme coin relaunch. Wow,
yeah,
fascinating.
There's like, I don't know if you know, like if you go on TikTok or like, man, there are these like AI idols, right? Like they're dancing, they're like whatever, cracking jokes, and then you can like gift them stuff, and they basically earn money.
Yeah,
and yeah, that's the future right there, right? That's actually fun. Like sometimes I enjoy talking to them more than like talking to real people. Yeah, but then those things make money, right? And then that is effectively once it makes money, it's a real value. It's like a valuable asset. And when there's value, you need ownership, right? Property rights and market.
Sell it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Amazing. Let's talk a bit about your view on the multi-chain. So we have so much fragmentation in chains. Obviously, Solana is 2025. Solana is becoming quite, maybe not dominant, but it's emerging again structurally. EVM seems to be in a little bit of a funk. It's very fragmented. And then you've got these new kids on the block like Sui and Aptos. How do you see this multi-chain world evolving?
I think back to the point of like we try to take timeless bets, not rather than like tactical bets. I think our view of the world is like Magic Eden, we try to build a better net. Like a better net means that I want to get into a position where we don't have to make a guess. Like we don't want to make a guess of like which chain, which meta, which asset class is popping off. It's that we will always be able to capture some part of the flow. So therefore our strategy is like all chains, all assets, all communities. So that's like our like fundamental position. So if I translate that into like tactical, it means today's world the world is multi-chain. There's like valuable assets and valuable pools of capital and valuable pools of users across chains. And there is significant inertia across the chains. And my bet is that as we onboard more casual users, they don't want to really care about this whole thing, right? They don't want to be like, man, there's 100 chains that basically do the same thing. And on each chain, there's like 5 wallets that basically do the same thing. And like on each of the chains, there's this like AMM pool that basically does the same thing. What they really want is they want simplicity, they want trust, and they want convenience. That, I bet that is the larger market, and that is what most of the world really wants. So our view is that the world is already multi-chain. Sol is having its renaissance, which I think is very, very inspirational because I know how much glass that those founders, that team, and that community had to eat. but at the same time, it's like we are just agnostic. We will support everything, and we want to make the world simpler for the new set of users coming to this ecosystem.
Very clear philosophy. Maybe, on closing up, I guess, our conversation, but let's land back at the beginning. What is your view on, Magic Eden had a well-known partnership with Yuga, which actually that's probably where we met, which was at ApeFest in Hong Kong
That's right.
years ago. Talk to us about how you see Yuga, the evolution of NFTs, and how you see that market evolving. That given that's where Magic Eden started.
Yeah, I think so. A couple of things. I think one, I'm very grateful for the partnership because I think spiritually we see eye to eye on so many things, right? And actually then our places as participants are also very complementary. Yuga is really like the leading pioneering creator in Web3. And they help pioneer a lot of the category of NFTs and the popularity of it. And then we're the biggest NFT platform, so it kind of makes sense for us to align. But I think spiritually, we also see eye to eye on so many things because one of the big things that brought us together was protecting royalties, protecting like fair economic distribution for creators, right? And the whole point for us was like, let's say in the traditional, Web 2 world, you have to be like Beyonce or Jay-Z to protect all of your royalties and like protect the true longevity of the value of your creation. Right, you have to like have teams of lawyers, some like crazy contracts, a bunch of tech. That's but that's only like top creators can afford that. But in Web3, the whole point is like this technology, it can be available to a 9-year-old kid, right? And they should be afforded the same level of protection, the same level of economic protection as the greatest artists. And I think that's beautiful, actually. And I think that's the kind of step change for Web3 and our technology to bring people home. And us at Yuga, we saw eye to eye. I think spiritually very aligned. The second thing is that one thing that I think is really interesting, like where Yuga is a good case study, is it is this like multi-chain, multi-asset trend. And I think what we are trying to do is, and what they are trying to do is going to be the first case studies of what the future is. Because if you think about it, Yuga, their core famous assets on Ether1. Then they have their own chain, which is kind of like their IP ecosystem, which is Ape Chain. Then they have games, which are going to launch on Ape Chain, right? And then they have their own fungible coin, and then they have their own NFT. And what our vision would be is like, on Magic Eden, we want to show Yuga as a creator all of these things in one place because that is the true mythology and story of this creator. Like that's the ecosystem they're trying to build. That's the strategy they preserve. And if you are interested in them, you can read all about it here. And if you like what you do, you can buy some of their things here. Both fungibles, NFTs, across any of the chains you want. That to us is the world. But if you think about the way crypto is today, you go on like a centralized exchange, everything is extremely siloed. Like the tokens here, the NFTs are here. And to us, that's not the right paradigm. The right paradigm should be creator-led. It should be creator first. And we start with the story of why do people even care about this creator, and then what their story is. And then you go and like, hopefully buy the thing that you actually care about, right? So that I think is more like our consumer mindset of like trying to make all of this like weird crypto stuff relevant to the everyday person.
That's beautiful. Jack Liu, co-founder, CEO of Magic Eden. Thank you for joining us on Smart Contact.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, awesome.